and be with the next person in prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, dear God, we humbly and beautifully, mercifully, and happily come before you tonight. Just wanted to say thank you, Lord. Thank you just for all of it. I mean, there's a positive energy buzz going with everyone in here. The young people, Lord, you and Pete, Perla, and just have us all here in your house is so beautiful. The worship team, as usual, was beautiful. Lord, I see you have a new drummer up there. That was really cool and sounded really good. Lord, and this is a couple things that I'd like to ask you. We're having a thing we put together to celebrate recovery type thing on Wednesday, and we're all really excited about that. And I feel honored to be a part of it, Lord. And I just ask that you do what you do. You know, you put a hedge of protection around things, and your love and your warmth, and that right there, and helping us with our wisdom. I think we're going to have a beautiful turnout, and it's going to add to the life of many as well as the Lord. And Lord, it's nice to see Dr. Rob Hunter here tonight. Ron Jr. operates things. They don't normally get the credit they deserve. But just think again, the family, the friends, the young ones, the people, the food. I can't think of anything more right now, but I know I got a lot more to thank you for. And I thank you.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for having me know that Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for helping everyone join. Although there's not as much people as there usually is, but we're so grateful. But I'm just glad some of these people came. Yeah, just keep trying to get people to come to church and just help people learn about you. Because that's the funnest part, learning about you. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the great meal that you provided last night. It was very delicious. And also, I hope that you help those in need and who don't really have a place to stay right now. And I hope you help them get off the streets, Lord. And it's still winter, a mile or so. But I just hope that you get them back to warm and safe and help them see your light. And I also hope that you see the people who are on addiction, and I hope you help us hear from them.
And all the people said, Amen. It is very bright. I feel like I'm in the sun now. So do you talk to God all day?
Yeah.
Do you? Is he the first one you connect with in the morning? Because I noticed something, and I'm going to tell on myself a little bit here. When I had the job where I was working with people that were hard every day, I was praying all the time. But now that I'm working with kids, my job's not hard. My job is joyful, and it's fun, and I frankly don't work very hard. It feels like I get paid to just go play.
Yeah, with little kids, bigger kids.
But the problem is that I still need to be praying. I still need to be connected to God. And because I don't have that pressing on me, it's become harder for me. It was hard to understand why I was doing that, and then I noticed it. I noticed that I've got to start doing it again. I've got to start praying. The hardest thing right now is that my eye doesn't always work the way I want it to. And so then I'll get agitated, or I have empty time that I need to fill. But I need God at this job as much as I needed him at the other job. I need him to make the right decisions. I need him as the counselor to what I'm doing for the day. I need him when I'm interacting with adults. or if I'm doing something that I haven't ever done before. I need God there. And all of this, we've been, on Thursday nights, I go to Pastor Ron's house, and we've been studying Exodus. Exodus is my favorite book of the Bible. If you have not read Exodus, you don't know what you've missed. Because let me tell you, it is the best. And we are in chapter 16, and we've been at it how long? A while. There's some people that want it to go faster, and I'm like, slow down. Yes, ma'am. We've been a long time. Weeks. Some people are complaining, but I don't care. I want to hear it. And Israel was in Egypt for 400 years. 400 years. So a lot happened in that time. And they forgot God. They forgot God. They forgot that they needed God, kind of like what I was talking about with my life. They forgot that they needed God, and they didn't even think about him until their children started being murdered. Pharaoh looked around and he said, oh, there's too many of these Israelites. I'm going to start fixing this. So he went to these two midwives, and I can't remember their names, but it's Shura and, yeah. Anyway, these two midwives were supposed to kill all of the boys. When the boys were born, they were supposed to kill them. And Pharaoh said, when those babies are born, if it's a boy, kill it. And they went against what Pharaoh said. They didn't do it. And Pharaoh went back to him. He said, what? I asked you to do something. And they said, oh, no, those Israelite women, those Hebrews, they go and have those kids way before we get there. So we can't help you. And so all of these kids were there. So then Pharaoh, he's not thwarted, he starts taking their children and throwing them into the Nile. And here's the gross part. This part of the picture never came into my head. What do you think is in the Nile River? Alligators. Crocodiles. So let that sink in for a second. That's pretty bad. So those children were not living in the Nile. They would die right away. And all of those things made everyone in Egypt that was a Hebrew start calling out for God. They remembered God. All of a sudden, they're like, we're in trouble. We got some really bad things happening. Well, there was one family, and the mom kept her son until he was 3 months old. She hid him. And then she made this basket. She put tar on the outside of it. Is it a question about the service? Okay. She put tar around the outside of it. Riley.
I'm getting confused.
Okay.
How is the baby getting wrapped in a cloth, sailed across the river full of alligators and crocodiles?
I know. I'm going to tell you how it happened. So they take a basket, and she puts tar around there, okay? And it makes it what? What happens when it gets tar? It's waterproof, okay? And so then she pushes it out. But then his sister, his older sister, she starts watching. She's watching this little baby go down the Nile. And guess what? Pharaoh's daughter found the baby and took him out. And you know what his name was? Moses. Wasn't Jesus, it was Moses. No. So anyway, to leave Egypt, they had to learn to trust God. And everything had to work the way that it did. God let them have all of these things happen to them. Because guess what? They weren't paying attention. They didn't even think about God. They had other gods that they were thinking about. But God needed to show them his power. He had power over the sea, and he led them to lots of places. Yes?
So, actually, there's like something called the Plague of Egypt.
Okay, well, we're gonna answer a lot of questions, so just wait. Just wait. God showed Egypt and Israel his power during the plagues. That God was the ruler. He was the ruler over the gods of Egypt. Each plague represented a god to Egypt and Israel. So I'm going to show you a video. It's 5 minutes. You're going to need to pay attention because this is something that I didn't know until I started studying this on Thursday nights. So pay attention because you're going to get some information that maybe some other adults don't know. Okay, shh. You want to turn the lights down, Ron?
The plagues were 10 disasters sent upon Egypt by God to convince Pharaoh to free the Israelite slaves from the bondage and oppression they had endured in Egypt for 400 years. When God sent Moses to deliver the children of Israel from bondage in Egypt, he promised to show his wonders as confirmation of Moses' authority. When Moses approached Pharaoh, demanding that he let the people go, Pharaoh responded by saying, "Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice and let Israel go? I know not the Lord, neither will I let Israel go." Thus began the challenge to show whose God was more powerful. The first plague, turning the Nile to blood, was a judgment against Apis, the god of the Nile, Isis, goddess of the Nile, and Khnum, guardian of the Nile. The Nile was also believed to be the bloodstream of Osiris, who was reborn each year when the river flooded. The river, which formed the basis of daily life and the national economy, was devastated, as millions of fish died in the river and the water was unusable. Pharaoh was told, "By this you will know that I am the Lord." The second plague, bringing frogs from the Nile, was a judgment against Hecate, the frog-headed goddess of birth. Frogs were thought to be sacred and not to be killed. God had the frogs invade every part of the homes of the Egyptians, and when the frogs died, their stinking bodies were heaped up in offensive piles all throughout the land. The third plague, gnats, was a judgment on Set, the god of the desert. Unlike the previous plagues, the magicians were unable to duplicate this one and declared to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." The fourth plague, flies, was a judgment on Uatchit, the fly god. In this plague, God clearly distinguished between the Israelites and the Egyptians, as no swarms of flies bothered the areas where the Israelites lived. The fifth plague, the death of livestock, was a judgment on the goddess Hathor and the god Apis, who were both depicted as cattle. As with the previous plague, God protected his people from the plague, while the cattle of the Egyptians died. God was steadily destroying the economy of Egypt, while showing his ability to protect and provide for those who obeyed him. Pharaoh even sent investigators to find out if the Israelites were suffering along with the Egyptians, but the result was a hardening of his heart against the Israelites. The sixth plague, boils, was a judgment against several gods over health and disease: Sekhmet, Sunu, and Isis. This time, the Bible says that the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils. Clearly, these religious leaders were powerless against the God of Israel. Before God sent the last 3 plagues, Pharaoh was given a special message from God. These plagues would be more severe than the others, and they were designed to convince Pharaoh and all the people that there is none like me in all the earth. Pharaoh was even told that he was placed in his position by God, so that God could show his power and declare his name through all the earth. As an example of his grace, God warned Pharaoh to gather whatever cattle and crops remained from the previous plagues and shelter them from the coming storm. Some of Pharaoh's servants heeded the warning, while others did not. The 7th plague, hail, attacked Nut, the sky goddess, Osiris, the crop fertility god, and Set, the storm god. This hail was unlike any that had been seen before. It was accompanied by a fire which ran along the ground, and everything left out in the open was devastated by the hail and fire. Again, the children of Israel were miraculously protected, and no hail damaged anything in their lands. Before God brought the next plague, he told Moses that the Israelites would be able to tell their children of the things they had seen God do in Egypt and how it showed them God's power. The 8th plague, locusts, again focused on Nut, Osiris, and Set. The later crops, wheat and rye, which had survived the hail, were now devoured by swarms of locusts. There would be no harvest in Egypt that year. The ninth plague, darkness, was aimed at the sun god, Re, who was symbolized by Pharaoh himself. For 3 days, the land of Egypt was smothered by an unearthly darkness, but the homes of the Israelites had light. The 10th and last plague, the death of the firstborn males, was a judgment on Isis, protector of children. In this plague, God was teaching the Israelites a deep spiritual lesson that pointed to Christ. God commanded each family to take an unblemished male lamb and kill it. The blood of the lamb was to be smeared on the top and sides of the doorways, and the lamb was to be roasted and eaten that night. Any family that did not follow God's instructions would suffer in the last plague. God described how he would send the destroyer through the land of Egypt, which orders to slay the firstborn male of every household, whether human or animal. The only protection was the blood of the lamb on the door. When the destroyer saw the blood, he would pass over that house and leave it untouched. This is where the term Passover comes from. 5:7 teaches that Jesus became our Passover when he died to deliver us from the bondage of sin. While the Israelites found God's protection in their homes, every other home in the land of Egypt experienced God's wrath as their loved ones died. This grievous event caused Pharaoh to finally release the Israelites. By the time the Israelites left Egypt, they had a clear picture of God's power, God's protection, and God's plan for them. For those who were willing to believe, they had convincing evidence that they served the true and living God.
Thanks, Ron. So you can see why I couldn't stand here and tell you about all of those plagues. That is a whole big section of Exodus talks about what happened and how God was telling them who he was. They needed to remember who God was. So I'm going to read from Exodus 12, and it's going to be 14 verses. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month will be the first month. It will be the first month of the year for you. Tell the whole Israelite community, on the 10th day of this month, they must take a lamb for each household, a lamb per house. If a household is too small for a lamb, it should share one with a neighbor nearby. You should divide the lamb in portion to the number of people who will be eating it. Your lamb should be a flawless year-old male. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. You should keep close watch over it until the 14th day of the month. At twilight on that day, the whole assembled Israelite community should slaughter their lambs. They should take some of the blood and smear it on the 2 doorposts and on the top beam over the door, or over the door of the houses in which they are eating. That same night, they should eat the meat roasted over the fire. They should eat it along with unleavened bread. This means bread that doesn't have yeast, and bitter herbs. Don't eat any of it raw or boiled in water, but roasted over a fire with its head, legs, and internal organs. Don't let any of it remain until morning, and burn any of it left over in the morning. This is how you should eat it. You should be dressed with your sandals on your feet and your walking stick in your hand. You should eat the meal in a hurry. It is the Passover of the Lord. When they're eating it this way, they're getting ready. They're getting ready to leave Egypt. And when the Passover is, that's death. Death is not going to get them. They're going to get to leave. And what happens is they get to go and they stand, the first thing they do is they stand before this sea, the Red Sea. And they're like looking at Moses, they're like, great, because they see, here comes Pharaoh. Pharaoh's changed his mind. And they're like, great, we're going to die right here. We're stuck between Pharaoh and the sea. And God shows him again his power. He tells Moses, lift your rod in the air. And he lifts his rod in the air, and guess what? This Red Sea parts. And they cross on dry land. Can you imagine walking through that? There's fish and all of this stuff, and there's water roaring. The noise. I can't even imagine the noise. But I also can't imagine the way my heart would feel to know that God is doing this and I am walking through because God is taking care of me. And it's a beautiful picture. They get to the other side, and guess what? Moses drops the rod, and Egypt is wiped out. God shows his power to the people, but you'd think that would be enough, right? You'd think that the 10 plagues and the parting of the Red Sea, that should be enough that they would trust God again, right? No. Right away they're like, great, now we're over here and there's no water. Moses, what are you going to do? There's no water. And they start complaining. Yes?
So, I can just give Moses to, like a bunch of people and like raise his stick in the air and
No, Moses just held back the water. Moses was a symbol of what God was doing. God was holding back the water. Yeah. So then Moses takes that same rod and he strikes a rock. And water comes gushing out of this rock for them to drink. So now they've got water to drink. So they've got 10 plagues, the Red Sea, and water. Think they'd be happy? No. Why not, Andy?
Well, I have something to add on. Wasn't the rock story afterwards? Wasn't it Moses threw a rock into the bitter water?
Oh, yep, there is bitter water. I didn't think about that one. Thanks, Andy. Yeah, I did. The book of Exodus is too much for me to cover in one night. Okay, I'm doing best. I am talking fast. So then, all of a sudden, they've got water. They crossed the Red Sea. They don't have bitter water anymore. Now they're hungry. Oh, great. You just brought us out here, and you just want us to die from hunger. We're hungry. Moses, what have you done? And they're grumbling. Aren't we like that? Don't we grumble? God healed my eye, and I just told you that's the thing I worry about the most. God healed my eye, but I still grumble about it sometimes. So God sends it's called What Is It? And it's stuff that rains down in the morning. And it's called What Is It? Manna. And it's bread. And they can eat it. They can eat it for 6 days. And then collect enough on the 6th day that they don't have to collect it on the 7th day so they can spend time with God. But there's some that still try and collect it. I can't tell you this whole story. You need to read the book of Exodus. You need to bug Miss Ashley and Miss Dina and your teen. You need to read this book. Because this book is full of things that we do. It's who we are. Because we know how powerful God is. We know who God is, but we forget. So I'm going to have my friend Sora is going to come up and help me do my object lesson today. Sora is Lance's sister. She's a twin. We have 3 sets of twins in this church.
You spelled it wrong.
What's wrong with her?
No, you misspelled it.
Oh, how do you spell it?
X-S-O-A-R-A.
Oh, okay, sorry. That's on me. I'm sorry, Sora. Okay. So, Sora, I've got 3 funnels here. Do you know what a funnel is? No? Well, you use them for oil, and you use them to, put oil in your car, but you can also use them for liquids in the kitchen, okay? These have not been used. They're all clean, okay? And so we're going to talk about the power of God. So I want you to look in there, show it to everybody. Yeah? Feel it. Make sure it's not wet or anything. Okay? All right? Okay. So I want you to, I'm going to have you take it, and you're going to go like this. You're going to blow that ping pong ball out of there. Okay? No. You can put your mouth over the whole thing. I haven't touched it. Harder. Okay, so maybe that's the wrong size. Let's see. Maybe the smaller one, you think that might work? Okay, you try that. No, it's not working. Okay, maybe the big one? Okay, we'll try the big one. We'll see if this works. Okay, I'm not a science nerd, but here's what this is. The power of God can keep things from moving in a direction that we don't want them to go. But I know that there's a science behind this. Do you know what it is? Did anybody know what the science is? I just know that this was my demonstration of the power of God. It's what?
Bernoulli principle.
It's the Bernoulli principle. What is that?
Same thing that makes airplanes fly.
Oh. Okay. So airplanes fly for the same reason. That's pretty cool, Sora. All right. Thank you, Sora. Give Sora a hand. She tried. So we can, oh, no, thank you. Shh, shh, shh. Let's calm back down. We could know that God is in everything and that God can save us, but He is the God who wants to know us. God can save us, but He's the God that wants to know us. He wants to have a daily relationship with us. He doesn't want us waiting a week, a day, an hour. He wants to have relationship with you. With you. With you. He wants to have communication. He wants to know what's bothering you. What's great. He's not judging us. He's waiting for us to talk to Him. He waited 400 years for the Israelites. I don't want to wait. I want to remember who God is. And I want to remember that God is all powerful. I don't need a plague to show me that. I don't need my life to be a wreck. Not that God's going to do that, but I want God to be a part of my life. We're going to sing one more song. But before we sing that song, go ahead, Dina. We have someone that has a birthday. No, Lily's birthday was Wednesday.
It's the kid with the McCaffrey jersey.
Okay, ready? Ready? We're going to sing. Happy birthday to... Happy birthday to... I shouldn't lead that. Happy birthday, dear William. Oh. Happy birthday to you and many more.
Okay. This is the song that if I have